Ho, ho, ho! This is the pre-Christmas episode of the Trappings and Trinkets Knitting Podcast, and I'm your host, Nicole. Happy winter holidays to everybody. Happy Christmas, happy Hanukkah, happy Kwanzaa, happy solstice, whatever tradition you follow or don't follow. I hope that you're enjoying the season however you choose to. And I know that probably a lot of the people that watch this podcast are going to be very busy for the next week, so it won't surprise me at all if it is after Christmas by the time you see this. So if it is after Christmas, I hope you had a wonderful holiday, and if it's still coming up, then I hope you're able to enjoy this last week or so of preparations. I know that especially for the mom of the house, for the grandma, for whoever's hosting the holiday, or whoever is getting things ready for the kids, that you bear the brunt of this prep. So I see you. I know how much work you're doing. I know that you have been putting a lot of effort into prep to make this holiday special for everybody around you. So I hope that you are able to enjoy that as you do it. Just a little disclaimer, if you are related to me, you should not be watching this podcast because I might show your Christmas present. If you share my blood or if I have married you, please turn this podcast off now, and you can tune in December 26th to see what I have to say about your present. But yeah, please don't watch it if you're in my family. I appreciate it. The first thing I want to show you today is a hat that, this is a Christmas present. In our family, we do, well, in my family of origin, we do an adult exchange where all the adults just pick one other person's name, and that's who we give a Christmas gift to. And then for the kids, we all get the kids' gifts. But the adults, we've kind of decided, like, that, we're comfortable. There's not a lot that we need. It's fun to exchange gifts, but we don't like going overboard with the adults. So we just exchange, and then the nice thing is we also write down a few ideas because none of us live right by each other. Like, we're all 2 to 4 hours apart, so it's not like we're at each other's houses all the time and seeing the things that we have and the things we do. So it is nice to give farther away relatives or friends ideas because we might want to get you a gift, but we don't always know what you need or what you would like. So the person who gave me the suggestions, he had only written one thing down on his card, or on his little, we write down little lists. Maybe you'll have 3 ideas or so, and then we fold them up and we draw out of a hat. So, yeah, he only had a gift card idea, and that's super boring. So I'm not going to give somebody just a gift card if they're my dad. Spoiler. So he's going to get his gift card, but he's also going to get a couple other things. So one of them is this hand knit hat, and this is just Cascade Superwash, Cascade 220 Superwash. So it's a worsted-ish weight, and it's called the Lavender Waffles hat, or Violet Waffles. I'll put it right here on the screen. So this hat is a very easy repeat, and it just makes this little checkerboard and columned pattern, and I think it looks really nice. So his head is a little bit bigger than mine, and this could definitely go down past my ears, so I think this will fit him pretty well. It will not be big enough on him to turn up the brim, but if you wanted to turn it into a brimmed hat, that would be very easy to do. You just knit the waffle pattern a little bit farther up, and then you could have a brimmed hat. I'm not sure this one would be great as a slouchy hat, just because it's kind of, well, I'll show you. The decreases on this one are not super smooth, so it helps to have, like right now I'm putting my hand in there to round it out, so it helps to have it right up against the back of your head to kind of round it out, because if it's not, if it doesn't have your head to round it off, the decreases are a little stiff and pointy. So I don't know that you'd want to make this into a slouchy hat, but it would look really nice as a beanie or as a brimmed hat. So that is my finished object number 1. Actually, it was my finished object number 6 for the week, or the couple weeks, because my first finished objects were a collection of 4 hats. The pattern was the Ribs and Cables beanie, I believe. And I'll put a picture in here because I had to take them to the people that wanted them. So I just happened to be in my yarn shop a couple weeks ago because I tend to loiter there. And the owner was talking about a commission job that she had just accepted. And then, like, a minute later, she's talking about her wrist and how she kind of struggles with some hand and wrist pain sometimes. And she said that she had a couple things that she wanted to knit for her niece and nephew for Christmas and how her wrist was hurting her and she wasn't sure she'd be able to get it done. And I said, well, what about that commission thing you just accepted? How are you going to get that done? And do you want me to help you with it? Because I'd be happy to. And she was like, okay, well, that would be great. And I said, well, what's the project? She goes, oh, it's just some hats. And I was like, okay, how many hats? 11. So luckily she had already had a couple other people also volunteer to help her out. So I only ended up having to do 4 of the hats, which is totally fine. And it only took me about 5 or 6 days. So it was not a big job. But it was an easy pattern. It really was just ribbed, like 2x2 ribbed hats. They had nice decreases on the crown. So if you're looking for a ribbed hat pattern, I would definitely recommend that one. And if you want something that's, you know, another pattern that's just as easy as a rib, but it, you know, looks a little bit fancier, I would highly recommend this Lavender Waffles or Violet Waffles. Both of them are very easy. Both of the patterns were well written. This one only came in one size. I think the Ribs and Cables beanie came in a number of sizes. So this one, if you wanted to do it in a larger or smaller size, the easiest way would be to just change the size of yarn you're using. It was written for worsted, so just make it a DK or a sport to make a smaller hat, or make it a chunky or a bulky or chunky if you wanted a bigger hat. So that's the easiest way to change the pattern. You'd also have to make the body of it shorter or longer, depending on what you're trying to do. But this is going to fit a pretty average adult head. My head is 22.5 inches. So it has a very stretchy texture. So if you had a smaller head, like if you were an adult with only a 20 or a 21 inch head, you could still use the same circumference and just make the hat a little bit shorter, and it would probably fit you just fine. So even though it's only written for one size, I wouldn't worry too much about that unless you're trying to make it for a child. So I would probably not make it in a bulky or a chunky yarn, because there's not going to be many people that are going to have a head that's like way more giant in circumference than what this is going to fit because of the stretch on it. So I take that back. Please don't knit it in a chunky or bulky yarn unless you are literally trying to make a hat for like Andre the Giant, and I think he's dead, so you're probably not trying to make one for him. Okay. So, what else? Should we do more projects? Let's do that. I didn't make a list today. I found myself alone in the house. My daughter's studying at the coffee shop because she has finals. My son has finals too, but he doesn't study as much as my daughter does. So he's at work, and my husband had taken off to go to the grocery store, and so I was like, I'm all by myself. I could record a podcast. So let's talk about the 3-in-1 boots. I got one done, and literally I made every mistake that you could make on this pattern, and finally got it right. So they don't look great without the foot in it. But anyway, I'll be putting some buttons on this panel to line up with the button holes on this panel. So I am now into my second boot. I have the sole of this one done, and I am starting to pick up around the edge for the leg. So I was reluctant to, I'm always reluctant to say anything negative about patterns. I write patterns. I know how many times I've gotten emails from people that are asking questions or telling me that something is wrong with the pattern, but really they're just misunderstanding it or misreading it. So I know how easy it is to have a negative opinion of a pattern that there's really nothing wrong with. So I will say this. This absolutely could be my own misunderstanding of the pattern. There are a lot of projects to this particular pattern, so absolutely people have made these boots successfully. Now there also is still posted in the Designers Ravelry group a knit along. So I don't know how many of these project pages were done during this knit along where they had direct access to their designer and were asking her questions and were learning from the questions that other people were asking. So that could be a factor in why there are so many successful projects, because the designer went to that effort to host a knit along. So I have read through the knit along and searched for certain questions that I had along the way. And I did find some information there that was helpful to me. With all that said, I still had trouble with the pattern. A lot of trouble. Like I said, I made every mistake I could possibly make. And once I made that mistake and maybe knit a little bit farther, I would then realize, well, this doesn't look the way it's supposed to. And so I would tear it out and I would try to figure out what went wrong and do it again. So I've had to do a lot of backtracking and re-knitting, which, that does happen every once in a while. I really don't expect it to happen 5 or 6 times in the same pattern. And I don't expect it to happen 3 or 4 times on the same section of a pattern. So when that happens, then that does feel like more than just me misunderstanding. So I do have a hard time reconciling all those successful projects with the really bumpy ride I've had with this project. So I'm only saying all that to let you know you may be successful at this. You may be able to understand the way the pattern is written better than I have, but please approach this pattern with caution if you are not a very experienced knitter. I also really like the result. So it's not that I'm not recommending this pattern. I think these boots are super cute. I think that I will be very happy with the way they come out. And I'm even planning on putting some extra effort into these. I'm thinking about lining these with like sheepskin, like from the craft store, the fabric that just kind of looks like, the interior of boots that you would see. I'm planning on trying to line them with that and buying a rubber sole so that these can actually be worn out of the house. So I really do like this project. I'm just nervous about recommending it. So I can't recommend it, but I can let you know that lots of other people have knit it, and it might just be that for some reason, my brain and this pattern are not compatible. Okay, how's that? I think that's a very fair review, I think. I'm not trying to be negative. I'm just trying to let you know it's been a rough ride. All right, let's talk about something slightly happier. So last Christmas, for some reason, I think it was like a week before Christmas, I got a wild hair and I decided that I needed to knit my husband a pair of socks for Christmas. Well, I got one sock done and then apparently got distracted and never finished the other one. So I've had this sock. It's just a regular tube sock with a afterthought heel for his gigantic size 12 feet. So, it's not like it takes a day to knit him a pair of socks. Whoops. I could have just brought my sock blockers over here. But actually, I think these would be way too big for my sock blockers. So anyway, the afterthought heel looks kind of crazy, just sitting here on a sock that's not on anyone's foot because it looks like huge and pointy. But it actually is a very good solution for any sock that you want to just make the heel, like the bottom and around the top of the heel, a contrasting color, which is what I was going for with these. This is Kenzie yarn. Do I have a tag? Probably not. Oh, I do, a tag. Kenzie by Haiku is the yarn, and there's just color numbers. So honestly, I don't know if this is the beige or the orange, but this is color number 1000. So I don't know. Got the beige and the natural, and they're kind of heathered, a little bit of like heathering in there, a little tweedy. So the fiber content on these are 50% merino, 25% nylon, 10% angora, 10% alpaca, and 5% silk. Oh, that's the little tweediness in there is the silk noils, or Noiles. Noils, silk noils. So that's why it looks like that, because silk takes the dye differently than the other fibers do. And then the angora and the alpaca, I'm not sure if you can see it on the camera here, but there is a little bit of a halo on this yarn. So these socks look a little bit fuzzy. Okay, so this is the finished one. And let's talk about afterthought heels. Have you ever done one? They are a very simple way to do a sock heel, and a very simple way to do a sock. So the fun thing about doing an afterthought heel, and this works really well on self-striping yarns also, because then when the stitch counts change for like a regular heel, the width of the stripe would also change. But if you do it in an afterthought way, then you don't interrupt the stitch pattern, or the stitch numbers, or the width of the stripes on the rest of the sock. So keep that in mind. So what you do is you make your sock and you just knit a big tube. You do your little toe increases, and then from here on up, same stitch number for the whole thing. So you have to figure out at what point you want your heel to begin, though. So what I do is I just, I knit my foot until I get to like the front of my heel. This would be the point where my leg would meet the top of my foot. So I measure that distance, or measure it on my husband, and whenever my leg would come down and meet the top of my foot, that's where I'm going to start my heel. So at the point where your measurement is where you want the heel to begin, you actually knit half your stitches in a contrasting color. So you're knitting along with the beige. I put in half my stitches, so I think I'm doing 44 stitches around, so I did 22 stitches with orange, and then I had to slip all these orange stitches back onto my left-hand needle, and then I knit them again with beige. Now, of course, the needles were not in there at that point, so this is just knitting that tube, knitting that tube. So you do 2 rows in a row on the back side of your sock before you do the front side of your sock. Does that make sense? So you're putting in this extra little half row of contrast stitches because you're going to get rid of those eventually, and that's going to become your heel. So the next step, and that's why I put these needles in here because this kind of takes a while to do, is I just stuck my needle through one leg of every stitch above and below that row of contrasting stitches. And then, if I was smart, I would have brought another needle over here to show you how I start to take those stitches out. What do I have? Nothing. Here's something sharp. So you take your Knit Picks interchangeable needle set. No, don't do this. I'll see if I can get it out with my Knit Picks picker here. So you just need to take your orange or your contrast yarn and start to take those stitches out. And it's fine that you're doing that because your needles are now holding the stitches above and below in place. So they're not going to go anywhere. Ah, it's working. All right, I'll do a couple more and then I'll show you what's going on here. So I'm just picking out each of the orange stitches. Okay, so I've started to make a little hole here. So as I pick this out, you see how these stitches are just staying on these needles? Yeah, so I'm going to take this whole orange row out, and after I do that, I'm basically just making another toe on the back of my sock. So you can see, oh, the finished sock has escaped. Just a moment. Okay, so you see how the back of the sock looks a lot like the front of the sock. This is just another toe. So you don't have to pick up all the stitches because these beige stitches are hanging out on your needle. So you just connect your contrasting yarn, knit around, and then on the second round, you're going to decrease one stitch here, And then on the other side, decrease and decrease. And then you knit around without doing any decreases. And then you do a decrease, 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 decrease. Got it? That's it. That's the whole thing. That's an afterthought heel. So if you've never tried that before, you definitely should, because it makes your knitting of your socks super simple. Just knit a tube, and it makes the heel very simple, because it's just like knitting another toe, except for instead of doing increases, because these are toe-up socks, so increases, you would do decreases. You could also do it on a cuff-down sock, where you begin up here at the top, you knit all the way down, you do your toe decreases, and you've put in this little thing at the point that you want your heel to start, and then you just make your heel. Okay, so again, no pattern on that one. Husband is definitely getting his last year's Christmas socks this year, because all I have left to do is that heel. And I also bought a second ball, because I thought I'll make him another pair of like real thick worsted weight socks. But he just informed me a couple days ago that he's thinking about only working Monday and Tuesday of this week, and I'm going to be gone on Monday. So that leaves me Tuesday to get anything done that I don't want him to see. And I can't knit a pair of socks. Even worsted weight, I can't knit them in one day. So, yeah, I don't know about that. Maybe if he finds other things to do towards the end of the week, maybe I'll have a little bit more time. But I have a feeling this is going to be another, like, I started these Christmas socks a year ago, and then my husband stopped working, and then he was sitting around the house, so I couldn't finish them. So maybe he'll get these in 2018. I don't know. And I guess he probably watches this podcast now. So, hi, Jason. You ruined my plan for your socks. But ho, 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 that's okay. Speaking of Jason, so we went shopping yesterday together. We almost never go Christmas shopping together, because I do most of the Christmas shopping, and then he Christmas shops for me. So it makes no sense for him to come with me, because I'm there. So anyway, yesterday though, I wanted to go to a town it's not like right next door, but it's not that far, about 40 minutes away. I wanted to go over there because my son has kind of made a decision on where he wants to go to college. Yay! And we've gotten all the paperwork back, and we've gotten preliminary financial aid stuff back, so we know that college is, I mean, it's not cheap. It's not cheap, but it's in what we can afford. So I wanted to go over there and get him a sweatshirt from the college that he's going to attend next year, because he's a 17-year-old boy. I don't know how many of you have 17-year-old boys, but as a 42-year-old woman, I have no idea what he wants for Christmas. And honestly, like, that, it's not just that. I think he actually doesn't want anything for Christmas. He's like, he's past the point where he has toys. He doesn't have a lot of hobbies that like he needs things for. So there's just not much that he wants. So when I asked him this Christmas, like, what would you like? He was like, I don't know, money. I remember being a teenager, and I'm sure I like to get those things. I don't want that to be all that I give a person. So the sweatshirt idea seemed like a thing, a tangible item that he could open that seemed like a good idea. So what I forgot was that last week would have been finals week for this college and probably most of the universities around here. So yeah, the kids were gone by Saturday, and they don't have, the bookstore isn't open on the weekends when the kids are gone. So that didn't work out. But a nice thing was that I had been told by Marsha, who I think she watches the podcast. So hi, Marsha. She had been mentioning a couple times at our knit night that there's a fabric store in Bloomington. And I don't know how to pronounce it. I'll put it on the screen. Is it Bolins? Bolines? Bolines? I don't know what it is. But it is this very large fabric place. It is all quilters cotton. They don't do other, like there's no canvas, there's no faux fur, there's none of that kind of stuff. It's just quilters cotton. There's quilts hanging all over the place. This is a quilter's warehouse sort of a place. And actually, I think it says Quilt Warehouse or something like that on the sign. And so when we pulled up, my husband was like, are you sure you can come here? Like, this seems, because first of all, it's like way out by the airport. It is not in town at all. It's like quite far out of town. And so you go out there and you're like, I'm definitely in a like industrial place. This is not a customer walk-in sort of place. But because Marcia had told me to go there, I was like, yes, Jason, I can come. Although I am also a business, so maybe she would let me shop even if I wasn't supposed to. But anyway, so we went in there. And she had a ton of selection and really good prices. She said that to make it easier on herself, she just prices everything. There's like two things. There's the batiks, and those are $8.99 a yard. And like at Joann's, I think they're like $15 or $16 a yard. So that's a really good price. And then everything else is $6.99 a yard. So these are prices that are much lower than you would see at your Joann's or Hobby Lobby, those kind of places. Even like the online fabric stores are more expensive than, well, sometimes they're more expensive than Joann's. But so anyway, really good prices. If you're anywhere in Central Illinois or you just happen to be passing through and you're a quilter or you like to sew and you want to check it out, they have a lot of selection. And even though it really is a quilt store, it is not like, it's not like grandma's fabrics. Like they have all sorts of things. They had some very like silly fabrics. They had like SpaghettiOs. They had a print of carnival candy. And of course, and it's not all kitschy stuff like that either. They had a lot of very nice looking fabrics. They had a big holiday aisle. They had some leftover Halloween stuff. So they really have a huge selection. So I would highly recommend Bowlines fabric. I think it's just Bowlines LLC. So in Bloomington. So check it out. And then I'm going to show you what I got because these are going to be future bags of Trappings and Trinkets. So real quick, I'll show you my next load of bags. We're going to have some cardinals. We're going to have some percussion instruments. How about some crafty ladies being crafty? Yeah. Oops, they're upside down. Here we go. Oh, that lady, she's doing beading. Oh, there's a knitter lady. She's knitting. This lady right here, she's, I don't know what she's doing. She's doing needlepoint. Needlepoint lady. There's a quilter. There's a lady sewing. I like those. I like the crafty ladies being crafty a lot. This one, I don't know if this will be a bag or a lining, but just some little dress forms. I did get a batik because, isn't that pretty? That's so pretty. And this one, another one that maybe it'll be a lining or maybe a little drawstring bag. Some arrows. This one I like a lot too. Some Monet water lilies type stuff. Ooh, that really kind of made the camera crazy. I guess it doesn't like all that saturated color. I like this little green with colorful spots. And last but not least, some pink fabric with some really pretty leafy trees on there. So I had a lot of fun looking through there. We got there at like maybe 45 minutes till closing. So if I had had 3 hours, I could have easily killed 3 hours at the shop. It was big, and I did feel kind of rushed trying to get through the whole thing, but I will definitely be back. So I am all set for my next batch of bags, so that's fun. And I've been experimenting with sewing some bags. Speaking of that, I have been trying to figure out what sort of drawstring style I might like to offer coming up. So this one is just a very traditional drawstring. So when you pull the ties, the drawstring cinches up at the top, and then this like top part kind of crinkles up. So I don't know, like somebody suggested to put little toggles here, but I'm telling you, like this thing is not like, it's not coming open. So it's, you do have to pull it apart. Once you cinch it, it's this thing, you can swing it all around and it's not gonna, the top part is not gonna come open. So anyway, okay, so plain lining on this one, just kind of a blue grayish mottled fabric. So this just has a plain lining, nothing exciting going on in there, but it is finished off nicely. And then I also did one that had a little bit more. So this one, I wanted to see what it would look like if I just put the drawstring up at the very top here without any sort of extra fabric. And I have to say, I don't love how that one looks as much as the other one. So I think I would choose to put the drawstring slightly set down from the top of the bag rather than up at the very top. So that's why I'm sewing these trials so I can see how everything comes together. And then on this one, I tried this idea of an interior pocket. Oops. And this one is big enough that if you folded a piece of paper, if you had a pattern, you could fold it in half. Oops. All right, so let's take my paper, fold it in half, and I can put that right here in the interior pocket. Oop. All right, there we go. Oh, wait, it's not in the pocket. I can put it in the bag. Let's try putting it in the pocket this time. Okay, so I can put that in the pocket. See, right there. There's the pocket. Okay, and then, oh, here, we'll put a little deeper in the pocket. And then you see these grommets right here. Those grommets are so you can have a few different skeins of yarn sitting in your bag. And if you want to do color work, you can thread the yarn through the grommet. It would come out the pocket, and you just have 3 strands that are separated with those grommets. And that would help keep your skeins from getting all tangled up in the bag if you want to do color work. So another feature I'm kicking around. And then this one, I also put like a little suede handle on it. So for this one, if you want to cinch it up, but not carry it by the ties, you can carry it around by the handle. So that's another idea. I'm not sure how I love the handle on this. I'm not sure I love it enough to make it a thing that I do with all of them. I've also been using my little ultra suede tags on these instead of the wood tags, just as a, little something different. I like to change it up, not be too boring. Okay, so give me my pattern back. So those are my 2 ideas so far. So if you are a person who has a strong opinion about bags, if you're a person that might ever be in the market for a Trappings and Trinket project bag, leave me a suggestion in the comments. Tell me, what do you think for, like, when you are looking at project bags, what features do you love? Do you love a interior zippered pocket? Do you love a couple of small pockets side by side so that maybe your phone fits in one, you could put some scissors in another? What sort of features do you either look for in a bag, or do you have on a bag that you own that really really sold you on that bag? So I am very open to suggestions, and I'm doing some experimenting. So hopefully I'll come up with a style that suits me and that is popular among people who are interested in my bags. So, all right, what else? Got all my projects here, got the boots. Yeah, I guess that's it. I do have a couple future projects, but I'm not sure that right now they're just a skein of yarn in a bag, so that might not be very exciting for you to see. So the Etsy shop's been busy, and I'm going to be relisting some candy today. This is my last couple batches of candy before Christmas, so hopefully if I get this podcast out tonight or Tuesday, hopefully there will still be a few bags left if that's something that you're interested in. And then I also am expecting a new shipment of faux fur, and you are gonna love it. I'm really excited about this shipment. Beyond this shipment, there is one more faux fur that I've seen that I really want to get, but I haven't found it. I am not kidding. The place that I have found it at, it's like $50 a yard or something for the fur, and then I think shipping is another $25 or something. So I cannot pay $75 for a yard of faux fur. So I'm still looking for a supplier that has it at a more reasonable cost. Like, it does not cost $26 to ship a yard of fur via any method. So I don't understand what that's about. But I'm really excited to get this new shipment. So if you are in the market for pom-poms, you should check my shop out sometime in the next week, because I think it's probably going to be this Wednesday, the 20th, at the very latest, that I'll be able to list these new pom-poms. And I'm really excited about them. So check them out. Also in the Etsy shop. So here's my Etsy fail for the week. So I got an order yesterday, and when I looked at the order receipt, the amount that it sold for made me think, oh, this person bought a few pom-poms. And I clicked into it to see what they had purchased, and it wasn't pom-poms. It was a hand knit. And I was like, why did I sell that for $15? So the yarn to make this hand knit was probably $18 or $20. I don't remember exactly how much it cost, but it was definitely not $15. So then I'm like, did this person use a coupon code that I have out there that I forgot about or something that reduced the price? And no, they didn't. I just totally messed up somehow. So when you write an Etsy listing, a lot of times when I write a new one, I will use a copy of an old listing that already has a lot of the information filled in, because a lot of my listings, will have the same sort of information, and then I'll just change the information a little bit to suit the new thing that I'm putting up for sale. So I might, like in this instance, I took an old hat listing, and then I started to change the description. So instead of saying this hat, blah, 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 it said this cowl, blah, blah, blah. And then apparently I must have gotten distracted mid-listing change, because I literally stopped mid-sentence, and then like the rest of the listing, the old listing, just stayed right there, and it was all describing this hat. And then later on, it said this, this hat will ship, blah, blah, blah. So it was very obvious that I just got interrupted or something. And I know that I had saved this listing as a draft, because I had to go and take pictures outside because the lighting in the house that evening was terrible. So I think I saved the draft and thought to myself, I'll finish this listing once I get the pictures taken. But then my brain changed that to, this listing is done, just get some pictures and publish it. And so that's what I did. So the $15 was the price of the toddler hat that I had taken the original listing from. So that was frustrating. So, it's one of those live and learn things. I will be more careful about proofreading my listings before I hit publish, especially on something that I have saved a draft of. But yeah, so somebody found that listing, and they're getting a really good deal on a hand knit cowl. Luckily it was like a DK weight cowl. It took less than one skein of yarn. So it's not like I put a ton of time into it. It would be really frustrating if I had done that on like a shawl or something that had really taken a lot more time. But as it was a smaller item, so I'm not going to make an issue of it. I'm just going to chalk this one up to lessons you learn, and, Merry Christmas to whoever found that deal, and you really got a good deal on that cowl. So anyway, I don't know. I hope that things are going well for you. Things are going well here, and very busy, and I'm glad that I got the opportunity to record this podcast today, because I was really thinking I might not get this one done until the end of next week. But hooray for my family all finding something to do today, so I can sit in the house and talk to you without feeling self-conscious because my family is staring at me from the other room. All right. I hope you have a wonderful holiday, or if you are a Hanukkah celebrator, I hope you had a wonderful holiday, or if you're seeing this after the holidays. So I hope you have a wonderful end of December. I hope, it's probably the season where you're getting together with family and friends, so I hope you have lots of that, lots of fun, lots of conversation, lots of time spent with people who fill you up, and who you have a good time being around. I get the opportunity to go and visit with 2 wonderful friends tomorrow, so I'm really excited about that. One is a friend that, well, actually they're both friends that I grew up with. One is probably my very first friend. I think we have known each other since I was 2 and she was 1, or maybe it was even younger than that, but our moms knew each other when we were babies. And then the other one is a friend that I met in second grade, and he now lives on the West Coast, and I'm still here in the Midwest, but somehow we managed to see each other at least every couple years. The last few years, I think we've seen each other every year, so it's really fun when either he's in Illinois or there's been a couple times where I've been out in California, so it's always great to see him. And my other friend that still lives in my hometown, I wish I saw her more than I do. I really should, but I don't know. It's one of those things where everybody's, busy and raising kids, and she has a full-time job, and so it's just, we see each other when we can. So I'm lucky to have that opportunity, and then next week I'll get to spend time with the family my family of origin. So my little family here will go up to my parents' house for Christmas, and my sister's family comes down from Wisconsin, and I still have a grandpa that lives in my hometown. He actually turns 90 the day after Christmas, so everybody say happy birthday to Grandpa Choppy, because he is 90 years old the day after Christmas, and he's got some good genes. His mother her name was Bibi, and she died about 3 weeks shy of her 98th birthday, and wasn't even sick. She just was one of those ladies that just went and went and went, and when you get to be a certain age, I guess sometimes your body just wears out, but she lived a long, full life, so hopefully my grandpa, her son, will have the same experience. So we'll have fun not only celebrating Christmas this year, but we're also going to get to celebrate his birthday. So I'm excited to get that all going. So anyway, I hope you are having a great time. I hope if you've been doing some holiday knitting, I hope that's wrapping up. It's the 17th today, I think. So it's time to get those needles clicking and finish everything up. And maybe you're the person that's knitting all the way up to the day before you see the people that you want to give that gift to. So have a wonderful couple weeks. I hope you enjoy your time with family and friends, and that you have had some nice holiday time with them. Bye.